Hey, TJ, thanks so much for joining me today to discuss your life, really, and what has been going on over the last handful of months and years. There's a lot that's going on, and how God has brought
Mhm.
you along from a youth pastor in Florida, just growing and learning, all the way to here now, planning your second church. That's a lot to cover. But first of all, how are you doing today? How's life?
I am feeling amazing. I live in a great place. My family's healthy, happy. I mean, honestly, when you're living in obedience to God, best place to be. Life isn't always smooth, but you know you're always in the right place. And so that's a really powerful thought.
Perfect. And I guess we should probably introduce ourselves. My name's Adam, for those of you watching. And I have known TJ for over a decade, probably longer than that. We've been
Yeah.
through a lot of good things, a lot of weird things, and everything in between through God's
Yeah.
journey, bringing us together and doing ministry together. TJ, you have a story to share, and I want to help you tell that. I want to be quiet. This is you and talking about how God has worked through your life and how you
hmm
ended up specifically here, and here being Boise, Idaho
That's right.
today, and what the future looks like. So we'll start from square one with where you were, and we'll
hmm
just let it go.
All right. I'll go through the first part really fast. God called me into ministry right out of high school. So I started doing some on the job training, sort of as ministry in a church, distance ed. Went up and kind of moved my way through ministry after ministry, trying to learn as much as I could, kids, youth, young adults, inner city, playing in bands. I mean, everything I could get my hands on, I did. I said yes to every task, said yes to every opportunity. And eventually it led me to California to be a youth pastor where I met Adam O'Brien, the legend that is on this call with me. And of course, that developed a friendship. After our time in California, we asked, what's next? Moved to Florida, started our first church. It was called The Shore in 2012. Adam and his wife Amy came shortly after that. And that's how we really grew in our relationship, is because we went through the trenches together, right? When you're in a foxhole, your friend is the person next to you, and planting a church can be sort of a daunting task at times. So we walked through that. But here's where the story that I want to tell really begins. We're several years into that church plant, and God kind of put a stirring on my heart. And I talked to Leah, and we said, okay, that's obviously crazy. There's no way God would want us to start another church. We thought, okay, here's what's happening. God has put this city on our heart so that we can help someone else. Because why would he ever ask us to do this again, knowing how difficult it was the first time? And we started sending money to church planters in the Treasure Valley, which is the Boise metro sort of region. And we did that for a couple church planters. We tried to send people to plant churches here, but it just didn't scratch the itch that was in our soul. And so we decided something, and this I would recommend every single person making a big decision to do just this. I decided to get as healthy as I possibly could. Not going to make a decision, not going to move forward, not going to do anything else until we were healthy. Because, like many positions in life, it's easy to run away. I didn't want to be the pastor that saw an opportunity and thought God was opening it for me, because where I was struggling, or I was having a bad day or a bad season, or just there was a conflict that I wanted to avoid. Leah and I both decided we're going to get as healthy as we possibly can. So for years, we did this. For years, we saved money as individuals, like as a family. And then we also, as a church, did that. And we made sure that we were healthy. We did counseling. We ate right. We worked out. We made sure that our church staff was healthy. We helped people grow into their calling. And we made sure that everything was going well. In fact, kind of the slogan was, let's make it so it would be impossible for us to leave. Let's make it so great. Our kids in the right schools, we're enjoying life, we have the right people around us. Let's make it so great that it's only God would be the reason that we leave. So we worked and we worked and we worked to get healthy. And I'll tell you what, Adam, God really put something in our heart. I mean, we just were happy as can be, healthy as can be, loved every person we worked with. I loved being the pastor of the Shore Church. I mean, it was this is the joy of my life. I mean, everything about it was amazing, but there was still this sort of nagging burden in our heart. And after about 3.5 years of sort of carrying this with us and trying to fix it by sending money or sending people or doing whatever we could to not go ourselves, it became apparent that this was an itch that could not be scratched any other way except for to go and obey the voice of God. And we decided at that point that we'd rather fail in obedience than succeed in disobedience, because we were doing a good work. We knew that for the rest of our life we could have an incredible group of people around us doing church in a way that we loved, but it came to the point where it was just, we have to make a decision. We feel like God really worked in our heart and sort of forced our hand on how to do this. We needed to make a decision, and the decision was to say yes to God or to say no. And so that's kind of where that chunk of story, that's the story that I wanted to tell today.
And that saying yes is proven to be challenging, but ultimately as rewarding as one can get, right? Because you're following the call of God. Somehow you dragged us across country to help with that. So I know firsthand what that looks like. And like you alluded to, there are some weeks where we thought, what in the world were we doing?
Yeah. Well, and if I remember our conversation clearly, I said, I would love to have you, but you cannot come unless it's the voice of God, because when it sucks one day, it's God's fault and not mine.
Exactly. Well, I can't really blame anyone, but I remember specifically talking about Amy, my wife. Obviously, I was like, "Hey, I think God's telling us to go," and she's like, "No, you're crazy. You're crazy." I was like, "Okay, check this out. We're gonna sell our car, and we're gonna do it in under a week." And that's going to be the sign, right? And she's like, not going to happen. Our car, not that it was horrible, but it was old. It was getting up there, 200,000 miles. It's like, watch this. 3 days, it was gone. For the asking price. And I kind of chuckled. I was like, well, guess we're getting used to humidity, because we're coming from California. And it was, boy, did we not know what we got ourselves into with gators and humidity. And
I remember unloading your truck in March, and you're going, we can really feel the humidity. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah,
March is when it's nice. March is when the humidity's sort of gone. Oh, we're in trouble.
They're in for it. I knew it, and but it was 8 years of just growth for us, growth for you and Lee, as you were outlining. And as you're making that jump and that transition into now heading west again to Boise, there's a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts, a lot of things to process, to prepare. And it's almost like you hit your plateau of getting healthy, and you're jumping to another one now, or at least you're hurdling through the gates. What is that looking like for you, for Leah, for the family, the kids, right?
Yeah.
This is important. As you make that jump into the whole church thing again, because you're starting this from scratch, right? Not a soul there that you knew. Outside of some sort from other pastors. So you're starting from scratch, whereas with Sarasota, you had the benefit of knowing people, helping you out, right?
Had a couple people,
fundraising, a huge thing, right? Where in the world do we land for a church to meet? COVID, who would have thought when you started and had this inkling of a thing from God in your heart that we would be dealing with the last year and a half? What's going through TJ's head?
Oh my goodness. So many feelings, so many long talks with my wife, so many, okay, what are we, how are we, should we, so many changing circumstances. And if you had to really break it down, the hardest conversations kind of came in layers. It was our friends, it was our family, or sorry, our family was the inner layer. The family conversations, the friend staff conversations, and then the conversations as a whole church. Those were so difficult because so many times in our life, we ask ourselves, and this is not just us, I think this is every person, but what will so-and-so say? Or what will so-and-so think? What will our family think if we do this? What will our staff think? What will our church think? What will our pastors work like? What are they going to think? Are they going to think, all right, what's really wrong? What did they do? And then COVID came in and really just stirred everything up, and it's like, well, is this even a good time? God, did you mean for this to be the year that this was going to take place? It's such a tumultuous year. Is is this going to make it worse, or is it just going to be, well, it was 2020. We just chalk it all up to 2020, you know? So it's a very sort of, the feelings were very, very difficult. And more than anything else, I think the number one feeling we had was, is this God? You know, I think all of us struggle at times in our life when we have big decisions of uncertainty in front of us to discern the voice of God. Is it calling or is it circumstance? Is it something that's like, ooh, yes, this is definitely for me? Or is it just a distraction? So we need discernment in that. And so honestly, that's why we took so very long to make this decision, is because we didn't want it to be flippant or just something we just, opportunity, let's go. You know, we wanted to make sure that we were exercising the fruit of the Spirit of patience, and that weapon of patience was really working inside of us. So yes, did we question sanity? Absolutely. Was there a lot of uncertainty? Oh my goodness. I don't think I could even adequately describe the amount of uncertainty in our life. You know, when you get married, you start to reveal your life to another person in a way you really haven't ever before. You're together all the time. You share thoughts and feelings and spaces that you've not really shared with people before. And it brings up all kinds of insecurities. And then you have kids, and it's like, oh my gosh, am I going to be a good parent? Do I have what it takes? Am I going to ruin this kid's life? Am I going to raise a little hellion? Or am I going to be a good parent? Or am I going to, like, all these more insecurities come to the surface. Like, do I have what it takes to be the role model that these kids deserve? And then being a pastor was the most difficult season of drawing out insecurities. And then this last season of making big decisions that affect more than my life. I mean, it's the life of my staff, the people in my church, my family, my extended family that lived around us. I mean, just incredible change. There was a lot of insecurities that come to the surface. So if I could define that season as anything, the feelings, the most defining feeling would be a little bit of insecurity in the decision-making process. Not that I made the wrong decision ever, but you have to wade through insecurities to get to the right decision. Have you ever been there before?
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm walking through that right now, and I think the hardest thing is to, like you said, you sit and wait, and waiting is the hardest thing in the world to do. But also, my parallel prayer was, "Hey, kick the door open where I need to step through, and don't even, I don't care what the outcome, just make that wide open." And I got that prayer recently. I got those answered. It was painful though, so be careful. But it's things like that where, like you said, you there's no set defined amount of time that you can wait on God to get the right answer, right?
Yeah, it's not like
it's his answer.
3 weeks and it's done.
No, if that was the case, I'd be sending my prayer chips right now, right? It doesn't work that way, and that's okay. But patience is something that's been built, I know, for you, sitting and waiting. And as you said, it was not an overnight decision.
Not at all.
And maybe a lot of that insecurity is amplified by COVID, right? Similar with Amy and I when we moved, parallel with you guys. Hey, this was planned ahead of time, way ahead of time. But like, is this the right time to do it for our friends, for our church family? Ultimately, same as you, God opened the doors wide open for us to do what we need to do. So I get it. It's painful. It's not easy, and plus it's a whole another set of growing, where it's never easy. It's not meant to be easy though. It's so rewarding. That's why it makes it rewarding when you hit that plateau.
Yeah, you kind of get to that level of, okay, the anxiety is beginning to wane, the tumultuous nature of the conversations with God aren't as frantic, like, oh my God, oh no. You get like this maturity in your spirit because you've waded through the uncertainties, you've sought wise counsel, you've gone to God's word, you've done all the things you need to do. And seriously questioning sanity at times, but at the end of the day, knowing that we're right where we're supposed to be, you know? And I think it's funny. I've prayed God to kick open the door like you, right? Or close it. My biggest prayer at times in my life was like, God, give me one door. I'm kind of dumb. I don't want to walk through the wrong one. Give me one door and I'll know that's the one. But when we were starting the shore in Sarasota, there was no door. There's no door to start a church. Does that make sense? Like, you make a door. You have to get out your woodworking equipment and build a door for other people to walk through. You become the door builder instead of the door, God opening the door for you. You have to get out there and be used by God to start creating environments where other people can walk through the door. And we did that at the shore. We were door builders. We brought people up through from volunteering on our staff all the way to the highest levels of leadership in our church. And they walked through doors that we built. And I feel like right now we're doing the same thing all over again. The door wasn't there, the calling was, but the creation of the church is, well, God goes, that one's on you. So yeah, so it's an interesting season for sure.
Building a community is what you do extremely well. I've seen it how many times, whether in California with a youth group, building a church from scratch, and now again going from scratch. Not to jump in the future too much, but like you're sitting in Boise, and you're knocking on the door of going through that process, and you're thinking, you see that launch date in sight, right? September coming up, correct?
Yep.
What is that looking like now for you? Like, where are you heading? What do you need?
What do I need? Okay. Yeah. I need for God to move. Like, honestly, it's so cliche. It's so, he's blessed us with funding. Like, we've been able to raise money. We've been able to find a place to meet, which is a brand new high school being built. Amazing facility, great leadership of the school, perfect part of town. I mean, you couldn't dream for a better scenario. And now it's like, okay, God, move on people's hearts. That's our big prayer right now, is God, move on people's hearts, because we need people on the team that love others and love God, that they can use their life, not just to make a living, but to make a difference. The kind of people that wake up in the morning knowing that God called them to something greater than themselves. And I know every person has the potential to do that. I need somebody who knows that today so that we can teach others about that when the church opens. So right now, the biggest need is always people with the right heart. Get them on the team, sort of the principle of get everybody on the bus and then get them in the right seats. I need to get them on the bus and then get them in the right seats, So we got a bus. We got a lot of empty seats ready to rock and roll, ready to fill those seats and really make an impact, a big, big impact in the Valley for Christ.
And that bus, if I remember correctly, does not have assigned seating. So everyone hop on board.
Come on.
I'm excited. I'll be out there for that coming up to support you. And so I'm pumped to see how things progress from here to there and then beyond, right? As we look to wrap this up, at least for this session, 2-minute takeaway, right? I love doing my take this with you on the road type of thing. What do you got for anyone who's watching?
Yep. So let's put handles on it, right? How do I carry a piece of TJ's story into my everyday life? And here's what I would say. Success might not look like what you think it looks like. Because success is obedience to God. It's not following the most logical course or the this makes sense more than that, or this will set me up for the long term. Strategy's great. Looking into the future and planning is amazing. God's called us to do that, I believe. But when he calls you to change the plan, change the plan. Even if it doesn't make sense to you. Like, we showed up in this valley knowing that we were supposed to pastor the people here, but still not knowing why here. And now that we've been here for several months, well, now it's become obvious. It's easy to identify, but we never would have realized the purpose behind it had we not said yes in the beginning. So as far as a 2-minute takeaway goes, I would say success is obedience. If you really, really, really want to define your life in a godly way, being obedient to the voice of God, being obedient to his word, being obedient to his calling, that's how you become successful in life. Not the amount of things you accumulate or the influence you have or the size of your church, business, family, whatever it is, those aren't it. There's some things you don't even need to pray about. In God's word, it says, do it, you're being successful, right? There's other things where God will put impression on your heart. The Holy Spirit will speak to you. When you say yes, you're being obedient and you're being successful at the same time. So 2-minute takeaway, very, very simple. Just say yes when God speaks.
I like it. I like it a lot. TJ, thanks so much for hanging out and having a quick conversation about where you've been, where you are, and where you're heading with the church. Refresh Church comes soon to an area near you in Boise. I'm excited, TJ. Thanks so much, and I'm looking forward to talking to you quite a bit more.
Oh, yeah. Adam, thank you so much for hosting today, and I will see you guys next time that we get to do this.
All right, cool. Have a good one, everyone.